Okay, seventh grade. This week we're going to work with some rational numbers, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing them. You need to keep in mind your integer rules. When adding integers with the same sign, you add and keep the sign. When adding integers with different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the higher number. And when subtracting, add the opposite and follow the addition rules. You do the same thing with rational numbers. Here in the first example, we have 7.63 plus a negative 2.51. Different signs, so I subtract. When I subtract them, I get 5.12. 7.63 is the higher number, so I keep my answer as a positive because 7.63 is a positive. In the second example, we have 2.5 plus a negative 8.6. And I'm adding rational numbers with different signs. So I subtract. 8.6 minus 2.5 is 6.1. It's negative because the 8.6 is the higher number and its sign is negative. And then we have 3.4 minus 8.2. In this problem, you're going to add the opposite, so it would become 3.4 plus a negative 8.2. And now we follow the rules. And when you're adding a positive and a negative, you subtract. You get 4.8. The higher number is 8.2. Its sign is negative, therefore your answer is negative. With fractions, we're doing the same thing. Here we have a common denominator. We're adding 3/8 and 5/8, so I subtract and I get 2/8. And the 5/8 is larger than the 3/8. It's got a negative, so we keep a negative, and then 2/8 could be simplified to 1/4. Now 1/4 minus 3/8 becomes 1/4 plus a negative 3/8. So I'm adding two rational numbers that have different signs I need to subtract. So I'm going to set up 3/8 minus 1/4. I find my common denominator of 8. 3/8 stays at 3/8 and 1/4 becomes 2/8. I then can subtract. 3/8 minus 2/8 is 1/8. And it stays as a negative answer because 3/8 is the higher number. Its sign is negative. Now, when we are multiplying and dividing, it's the amount of negatives involved that determines what our answer is. An even amount of negatives gets you a positive answer, and an odd amount of negatives gets you a negative answer. In the first example, we have one negative, 6.5 times a negative 3.2. So I'm going to multiply those two numbers like I normally would, and I would get 20.8. And it is negative because there is only one negative involved, an odd amount. In the next example, we have two negatives that are multiplied together, a negative 3.4 times a negative 0.8. I multiply those two numbers together and I get 2.72. That remains positive because there are two negatives involved. And if I had a negative 5.75 divided by 0.5, I'm going to divide those two like I normally would. And I get 11.5. It's negative because there is only one negative involved. Okay. Now when we're multiplying fractions, here I'm multiplying a positive and a negative, so I'm just going to multiply through. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 7 is 14. One of my numbers is negative, therefore my answer is negative. When I divide with fractions, I'm multiplying by the divisor's reciprocal. And here I'm multiplying two negatives. And when I multiply these two negatives, I get 1 1/5 when I simplify, because if I have 3/4 times 8/5, and if those are both negative, I would have 24 over 20, 3 times 8, 4 times 5. And I can divide each of these by 5, or excuse me, 4. Let me get that right. Divide them each by 4, and I would get 6 over 5. And that's how I come up with 1 1/5. Okay? So again, we're dividing each of these by 4 to get to 6/5. So our rules are the same for integers as the rational numbers. If you have any questions, again, you can always email me. But you're going to be working on section H and problems in the categories 8, 9, 13, and 14. All right.